One people, one nation, one destiny. That is the Guyana for you and for me. People coming from all over the place, fighting to occupy our special place. Our magnificent coastland tells it clear that Guyana is the land we love so dear. Say what you may, we have gained independence, and this thing is no coincidence. Independent people planting our countryside. Yes, we are independent, selling millions of barrels of oil. No longer dependent on the Great Britain King and Queen. We are independent and doing the own thing. Our gold, our diamond, with sugar and the rice, we doing so well and we catching the price. One of the fastest growing economy in this hemisphere. To tell you the truth, I ain't going nowhere. When I look back at how far we have come, 58 years of growth, I just can't fathom. Neighbors getting jealous. Venezuela want to come across, but we independent and we telling them not a blade of grass. So happy independence to all of you, and may we continue to live as one people, one nation, one destiny.
my country, the country I am proud of, and also a land where people share the love. Guyana is my country, the country I am proud of, and also a land where people share the love.
Today we gather to celebrate a monumental occasion in our nation's history, the 50th anniversary of our independence. On May 26, 1966, Guyana emerged from the shadows of colonialism and stepped into the dawn of freedom from self-determination. Today we are here to honor our past, celebrate our present, and look forward with hope and ambition to a prosperous future that we are all building together. As we gather here today, I would like us to take a moment to reflect on our remarkable journey. Our ancestors hailing from Africa, India, the indigenous community, and other parts of the world brought with them rich cultures and traditions. Together they endured hardships, fought for their rights, and contributed to the vibrant society we have today. Our road to independence was not easy. It was paved with tireless efforts of visionary leaders like Dr. Chelly Jiga, whose dreams of a free and sovereign Guyana inspired generations. His legacy reminds us that our strength lies in our unity, in our unity, and that by working together, we can overcome any challenge. But even as we celebrate our achievements, we must also acknowledge that our journey is far from over. There are still challenges to be addressed. There are still work to be done. But if our history has taught us anything, it is that we are a resilient and resourceful people. When we come together, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. So let us renew our commitment to building a strong, prosperous, and united Guyana. Let us embrace the spirit of cooperation and solidarity that has always been our strength. Let us stand together as one people with one common destiny. On this independence, let us honor the sacrifices for those who have came before us, building a nation that we can all be proud of. A nation that every citizen has the opportunity to strive. and where our diversity is celebrated as our greatest strength. Happy 50th anniversary.
While my other friends getting ghosted, I getting car rides straight to school. I'm posted. What you could ever tell me? I get anything I want for free. Hello? Yes, baby. You want to see how the camera working? Don't worry, it's working fine. I just take a TikTok of me twerking. Send it? Well, alright. Anything for you, honey. How could I not? When you're so funny. Love you too. Must call me later. My friend coming, you know how she say. What happened, Stacy? You always ate up. Like you want my boo come your way. I always say, oh, it's too old for me. It's a walking red flag. That's the man I'm gonna marry. I'm gonna secure that bag. You don't stay after school, you're gonna ask out for me. So don't interfere. Just mind your business and learn to stay clear. Age is just a number. I can tell he loves me for real. Wait, let's get done. Mommy, you understand the way how I feel. Wait, let me send this picture real quick. I sure you waiting. Always tell me I'm pretty. And it is everything. But wait, it's why everybody tagging me on Facebook. Ah! What? You leaked my news? I can't look. I thought you was the one. But guess it was just for fun. What am I gonna do now? Mommy gonna kill me. My life done. It's all over. Done. Finished. How can I face anyone with my image so diminished? I should have listened to everyone when they said it was bad news. Now look where I am, all broken and used. I can't go back to school or even go home. This is it for me. I'm all alone. None of it was worth this thing, this betrayal, not even this iPhone. Never should I believe it when he made me feel all broke. I should have listened and learned from Stacy, so I could have avoided this tragic end to my story. Thank you.
Never
celebrating 58 years since we became an independent country. It is indeed a significant milestone, considering the fact that for over a few hundred years we were a colonial country, and our destiny, or every action, or every policy, and every single move in our country was determined by the British monarchy. It should be noted that when you're a part of a colonial empire, your job is to enrich the empire and not to enrich your country necessarily. And so over the years during that colonial time, what we have found is that all our resources, all our efforts, all our energies were directed to ensure that the British Empire grows and became wealthier and wealthier. But there comes a time around the world when many countries had recognized that they were not growing and they were only contributing to the British Empire, and therefore the clamor for independence started around the world, around the 50s. And so when Cherry Jagan came back to Guyana after completing his degree in dentistry, he himself recognized that Guyana was also being stymied in its development by the colonial powers. And therefore he thought that he had to do something about it. And it is around that time that our quest for independence started. With Dr. Jagan, with people like Baisi Ramkaran, people like Ashton Chase, and many of the top leaders of the PPP. And to a lesser extent, Barnum came at some point in time and also joined the independence movement when he came back from England, having been qualified as a lawyer. But independence was not given to us on a platter. We had to fight every way, every bit of the way for independence. And so the time had come on May the 26th, 1966, after many battles with the British Empire. They had finally agreed to grant Guyana independence. They were not prepared to grant Guyana independence under the leadership of Dr. Cherry Jagan. Because one of the problems at that time, the Cold War was definitely on, and there was this Marxist-Leninist ideology, and there was this capitalist ideology, the two dominant ideology of the times. And so the British thought that Dr. Jagan was a Marxist-Leninist. And if they had given Guyana independence at that time, then Guyana, they feared, would have become a second Cuba in the Western Hemisphere. And so they delayed Guyana's independence for the time that they were able to get Burnham in power. Nonetheless, 58 years in the life of any nation is not a long time. It might be a long time in the life of an individual, but in the life of a nation, 58 years is still young. At that time, prior to independence, many of our people were living in tenements in Georgetown. 10, 12 families were living in one tenement. It was difficult to have an education because the schools were owned by the churches, and even the churches were charging fees for students to go to school, and many could not afford to send their children to school. The social services were at a very low ebb. Medical services were almost non-existent. Our roadways were bad. Our infrastructure was run down. And Guyana was deemed Booker's Guyana because Booker's had controlled almost every aspect of our everyday life in this country. But since that time, we have come a very far way. At independence, we still had to answer to the British Empire because Sir David Rose was there at the time of independence, our head. And although Bonham was Prime Minister, David Rose was still the head of the country. But today, after 58 years, when we reflect back, we can say that we have come a very, very long way. Today, our country can boast about being the fastest developing country in the world, something that the British would never have envisaged at the time when they gave us independence. Because at the time of independence, although we were given political independence, we were not given economic independence. And our economy revolved around sugar, rice, and bauxite. Three commodities, the prices of which on the world market were extremely low. And so all we used to get was low prices for the things that we were producing in our country, and therefore we could not grow. So whilst we had political independence since 1966, our country was not growing because our country was not diversified. But today, if you look across our country, you will see tremendous improvement. 58 years after, we can say that our infrastructure has grown. Our infrastructure has improved tremendously. Our social services have improved tremendously. Our education sector has grown, so much so that the only place you're paying now for an education is the University of Guyana, and by next year that will become free as well. This government has given that undertaking. So there will be free education from nursery to university from next year. So comrades, let me take this opportunity on behalf of myself and my family to wish every single Guyanese, all of you and your respective families, happy Independence Day tomorrow. God bless Guyana. God bless all of you. Thank you.
task that I am charged with today is, and indeed that I have the privilege to perform today, is to bring to you warmest Independence Day greetings from His Excellency the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, the entire Cabinet and the Government of Guyana. Happy Independence Day from the President and the entire Government of Guyana. Anniversaries, whether they be an independence anniversary at the national level, or even a birth anniversary at the individual level. Anniversaries are always an occasion for retrospection, looking back, reflecting on the past, and also anticipation, looking forward to the future, and recommitment to future goals and objectives. And we all do that all the time. We do that every year in our own lives. We do that every year in national life. But there are certain intrinsic norms that we are conditioned with in most societies. And I want to reflect on one particular norm. Most of us are raised in homes where we are taught the virtues of modesty. We are told that it is good to be modest, and it is not good, even bad, to be boastful. And I'm sure that most of you can relate to that, because most of us I know were raised in homes that inculcated that value in us. Don't flaunt what you have or what you have accomplished. Be modest in your demeanor. And while I agree fully with the importance and virtue of modesty, and while I agree fully in not encouraging boastful or extravagant behavior, I wish to say to you that being modest and the avoidance, the emulation of the virtue of modesty, and the avoidance of the vice of boastfulness do not necessarily mean that we must not be proud of what we have achieved. And particularly when it comes to collective achievements, our achievement as a country, there is nothing wrong. In fact, there is everything right about being proud of what we have achieved as a country. We are celebrating 58 years of Guyana's existence as a politically independent nation, free from the shackle of colonial rule. And I must thank Chairman Armagan for his excellent history lesson, as always. But the story of the building of today's Guyana is a story that is far older than 58 years. It is a story that spans centuries. It is a story that had the Master of Ceremonies in welcoming, and I see him standing. You may be seated now. The Master of Ceremonies, my young brother, Cornel Austin, in welcoming the students of Springland's dormitory, an Amerindian hostel that houses mostly students from Oriala and Siparuta, young Amerindian students attending schools on the Quarantine Coast. In welcoming them, he said, we are starting with this item because this is where Guyana began. And when we consider what we have achieved as a country, we must consider that journey that involved our indigenous brothers and sisters, the first peoples of Guyana and of this continent and this hemisphere, traveling over centuries and across continents to arrive and be the first human beings to populate the Western Hemisphere. We must consider the journey of our African ancestors, brought against their free will under that most heinous and oppressive crime against humanity, African slavery, to Guyana. We must consider the journey made by our Indo-Guyanese, our Portuguese Guyanese, our Chinese Guyanese ancestors, brought under the objectionable system and oppressive system of indentureship, virtually free and forced labor, to man cane fields established, as Chairman Armstrong said in his history lesson, to enrich the colonial power with free labor. We must contemplate that journey of centuries made by all of our ancestors, all of the 6 peoples that today make up this rich and beautiful and diverse tapestry of one Guyana. And it was not an easy journey. It was a journey characterized by blood, a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, and a lot of tears. And the struggle to end, in the first instance, African slavery, Indian indentureship, were in fact perhaps the first major blows that were struck in the journey that would eventually lead to the establishment of independent Guyana. And from those diverse and almost entirely harsh and oppressive circumstances, we have forged today a unified and proud and strong Guyana. And we must be proud of that, and I think we ought to applaud ourselves. We mustn't forget that journey, and we mustn't be shy of what we have achieved. 6 peoples brought from 6 corners of the world, almost all of whom were brought against their completely free will, brought to a completely unknown land, and brought, almost all of them brought, to engage in harsh, unpaid, and or underpaid forced labor. Those were the circumstances in which our great-great-grandparents, all of us, were brought to Guyana. Denied an opportunity to preserve our cultures, our language, our religion in many instances, our identity. We forget sometimes, all of us, or so many of us, have anglicized names, English names. Those were not the names by which our forefathers were known. We forget sometimes the fact that we have to adopt a new religion and a new name to get a job in the civil service, or in the teaching service, or in the police service. I see magistrates is here, even recall those days. We must not forget that journey. There was once a time when we did not have the right to cast a vote if we were not a landowner or a property owner, because we did not have universal adult suffrage. Every single member of the population was not entitled to a vote. And most of us under this tent would not have been entitled to a vote in that era. And it took struggle and fight after struggle and fight. Struggle after struggle, fight after struggle, battle after battle, to get to the point where today we can speak of this beautiful and diverse one Guyana.